False forgiveness. We want to look at the potential for false forgiveness, because it is indeed possible to endow a false forgiveness just as it is possible to endow false mercy for various reasons. You see, we are trying to do two things here about forgiveness. We are trying to please God, and we are trying to detoxify ourselves, so we cannot leave room to be less than truthful with ourselves. Forgiveness must be pure and from the heart. Jesus Christ emphatically commanded that forgiveness must be from the heart, because the possibility of exhibiting a form of outward forgiveness that is not really from the heart does exist. Jesus Christ said in Matthew 18 verse 35, "So likewise shall my heavenly Father do also unto you, if ye from your hearts forgive not every one his brother their trespasses." So let's look at a few reasons why we may tend to give false forgiveness to our offenders. Number one, we may give false forgiveness to our offender because we want to get him or her off our back. You see, we can tell the person who hurt us that we have forgiven them because we do not want them to keep asking for our forgiveness when really we do not want to give it. Maybe they realize what they did was wrong and felt sad about it, and then they approach us, but we are not ready to forgive yet. So we tell them that it is over and that we have forgiven them, but really we are not happy with them. To our offender, the pardon has been granted, but to God and in our hearts, we have not released them. In Genesis chapter 34, Levi and Simeon agreed with Shechem, the Hittite prince, and his father that they should be circumcised if they were to marry their daughter Dinah, whom unfortunately had been raped. So it was agreed that the dowry should be the circumcision of the Hittite males, that is, the people of Shechem. Where Levi and Simeon agreed to forgive Shechem if he himself would become circumcised and allow his citizens to become circumcised. But it was really a ploy. On the third day, when they were hurting, when the pain reached its climax, Levi and Simeon decided to kill them because the soreness was really at its peak. Shechem and his father thought that they had been forgiven, but they were wrong. It cost them their lives because they were killed. Genesis chapter 34 verse 25. We can read the whole passage. This is what happened here. "And it came to pass on the third day, when they were sore, that two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, took each man his sword, and came upon the city boldly, and slew all the males." Number two, when we want to appear righteous. For example, in the Jewish tradition, according to Shulchan Aruch, a form of Jewish manual for the law, if the offender seeks the offended party's forgiveness 3 times, he has satisfied the requirements of the law. And if the offended party refuses to forgive, he is considered a sinner. You see, the danger that is attached to this is that in order to appear lawful, you might pretend that you have forgiven your offender so that you appear righteous. The idea is just to justify yourself, or you have fulfilled your expected part and have forgiven the person. And so people look at you as a godly person, but nothing is further from the truth. You are still planning on revenge. Look at what Jesus Christ said in his reprimand to the religious leaders of his day. "And he said unto them, Ye are they which justify yourselves before men, but God knoweth your hearts, for that which is highly esteemed among men is abomination in the sight of God." Proverbs 20 verse 6 says, "Most men will proclaim every man his own goodness, but a faithful man who can find?" It's not only in the Jewish tradition that you have this. People forgive because they want to impress those who are watching. You see, the public knows instinctively that if an offender is truly apologetic, he should be forgiven. And if the offended refuses to forgive, he is not seen in a good light. It is God that we are trying to please here. Forgive because God said so. Forgive from your heart, not to impress people, but to please God. Number 3, where we need the favor of the offender, and that is a selfish reason that could underline our forgiveness of the offender, quote unquote. It becomes an outward forgiveness instead of an inward forgiveness. There are instances or circumstances when you have no choice but to appear to forgive because of the benefit in it. You offer your forgiveness. A case in point is a boss who hurt you. You realize that unless you pretend to forgive him, he will not recommend you to the manager. So you pretend to forgive, but in your heart, his sight makes your skin crawl. You are still very angry, although you have managed to convince yourself that you have let go, when actually you have not. Number 4, when we want to appease somebody else, or when we want to appease a third party. In some cultures, when the offender cannot obtain the forgiveness of the offended party, he solicits the intervention of someone else or some elders or people of repute to speak on his or her behalf. It could be very embarrassing when people come to you and you ask for your forgiveness. You do not want to. In essence, you find yourself in a corner and you have no choice but to say, well, no, I have forgiven, even though actually you have not. In essence, within a very short time that they are with you, there's no processing time to actually mean what you said. Let your forgiveness be based on the authority of God in your life. Remember, your goal is to forgive in the sight of God, and of course to also detoxify yourself. This is the same principle in doing our alms just to please people. Jesus Christ said in Matthew 6 verse 2, "Therefore, when thou doest thine alms, do not sound a trumpet before thee, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward." Reason number 5. The offense is forgiven, but the offender is not. This is perhaps one of the most deceptive aspects of forgiveness. This often happens when maybe our emotions subside on an offense committed against us. We were hurt, but after a while, time somehow seems to heal the hurt and we get over it. Or our mood changes, or possibly the offense does not look as serious as it was to us when it was committed. Or perhaps the consequences of the offense are no longer there, or they turned out for the best for us. The offense is forgiven. In other words, the offense is released, but the offender is not forgiven. We feel that we are fortunate the way things turn out, but offer no thanks to the one who caused it. We are still somewhat angry with them. We need to make a conscious effort to forgive the offender as well as the offense and put the past behind us. Indeed, we should thank God for making it easier for us to forgive. God bless you.